The wacky world of MultimediaJay.
Spring started a week ago. Yeah. Fortunately, it's 35, so nothing seems to be sticking. Well, my latest e-tailer order came in, this time from Monoprice, which started out selling cables in bulk, and nowadays they're practically the Aldi of the e-tailers. They sell all kinds of other cheap electronics too, which I've thought about testing the quality on to see how close they come to stuff that costs significantly more. There's all kinds of stuff on there these days. They have gaming headsets, they have displays, they even have a 5.1 speaker system, which is interesting because one of the 5.1 speaker sets that they've sold in the past was so close to a major brand in terms of both looks and sound quality that they actually got sued over it and had to change the design. But anyways, anything for cheap electronics, right, Monoprice? But anyways, I decided to stick to Monoprice's guns for the time being and just go with some cables. We have, of course, a USB on-the-go cable to go from micro USB to full-blown USB to experiment with using USB game controllers on my tablet, because I'm thinking my next tablet is probably going to have HDMI out. I'm thinking I'm going to get an EVGA Tegra Note. An EVGA Tegra Note running off an NVIDIA Tegra processor, which will have an HDMI out despite being a 7-inch tablet. I'm thinking of trying to use a tablet as a low-end gaming console for Android games or games like Final Fantasy or something like that, or Dragon Quest. Stuff that doesn't require a lot of horsepower. So I can use a 5-watt device to play those games instead of my 100-watt desktop. That's way overkill for it. So this is an experiment to see if I can get around having to mess with a Bluetooth controller in the first place. I also have a bunch of cables. It's kind of, so let's get a big one. Put that one in the shot. I also picked up a bunch of SATA cables with 90-degree bends on them to get around some of the space issues inside Tuxedo's case, as well as keep things clean in general, because it usually, you know, have the end with the angle come out of the drive and then not have problems with big video cards and stuff. And you're gonna laugh at me. A D-sub cable. This is probably the last VGA cable I'm ever gonna buy, but this is a mega souped up, double like shielded ferrites on both ends. It's a souped up VGA cable. Since I'm gonna run this TV into the ground, the Samsung that I have, if I'm gonna be using the VGA port, let's get the absolute best cable that I can get for it with lots of shielding and ferrites instead of that one that I have that I think came with this monitor back in 2006. It's also shorter too, so if there's any analog loss because of cable length, then that'll help with that too. Okay, just stop laughing already. The TV puts out somewhat respectable VGA. The TV functions somewhat respectably as a VGA monitor, and I use it to save power, so laugh it up. Now let's hook these things up. A little comparison of what it's replacing. Man, look at that skinny little cable. Yeah, that's pretty much stock versus this big thing. Okay, I don't know why I insist on doing this sort of thing, but surprise, surprise, there is a difference. You probably won't ever see it on the camera, but it's crazy just how close these sources are getting. You know, there was a bit of a difference, and VGA was a little fuzzier than HDMI with the old cable, but they're closer together now. I may seriously consider just not bothering with HDMI, saving the HDMIs on this thing for, just save the HDMIs on this display for like game consoles and stuff. They are so close. I think the only way I could make this signal even cleaner is to get a direct cable. If Monoprice has a converter cable that's not just a waste of materials that goes from DVI to VGA, I've tried those before and I haven't had much luck with them because they usually don't convert. They just change the plug, which doesn't do anything with the analog-digital issues in the signal. But if there was a converter cable, that worked, it would be nice to go straight from DVI to VGA. But HDMI versus analog, they're so close together on this TV. It's just nuts. The only real difference, besides just a slight bit of fuzziness, is having to hit the auto adjust every so often. But go analog, or maybe it's more along the lines of go Samsung, because back in the day when this TV was a big thing, Samsung's Samsung's competition, the cheap TVs, or not cheap TVs, but TVs at the time, VGA was kind of a tacked-on side feature, but having already owned a Samsung monitor, I was hoping I could get good results with a Samsung TV. And yeah, this TV has done quite well for itself, and I may be able to free up an HDMI port if I can get over the tiny bit of fuzziness that remains in terms of picture quality between analog and digital here. It's crazy. Yeah, the HDMI is sharper. Just a bit, though. In terms of saving power, PC will still do the trick, and now, thanks to this better cable, the signals are even closer. I think the only way I could make these things even closer, is, close the gap even more, maybe try a direct VGA to DVI converter cable from Monoprice instead of using an adapter, or get a Monoprice adapter, something like that. Whatever it takes to clean up the analog signal that I'm using in this old port. But I don't want to invest too much in this because the odds are that this TV will be the last TV that I have that actually has a VGA port, so let's run it all into the ground and call it a tech standard. Yay, VGA. Whatever. Interesting. So it does work. You just have to have a controller that supports X input. So here I am playing on a piece of junk dual-core tablet. This is Machine Knight, which is an RPG that a Chemco RPG that's on the Google Play Store. It's the free one. There's others that cost like a couple bucks or something. Yeah, so I should I don't know what I'm gonna do with this tablet. It's dual core, it's a piece of junk, and it barely supports... I mean, look, this is... once we get past the endless RPG text bubbles... You can't really see it because we're kind of not moving right now, but strangely enough... Blah 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 blah. Earth to Chemco, the 90s were quite some time ago. People don't want to read text all day. Yeah, look at that chuggy frame rate in a 2D game. Oh, man. So the big thing is, there needs to be... Oh, cool, a world map. Oh, this is running better. Let's go back to the town. Ugh. Sluggish controls and a sluggish frame rate. I'm guessing because this thing has a dual-core processor in it. Oh, look at that. There's like a half-second lag just to change directions. Just to change direction when you're walking. Switch back to analog mode, just use the sticks. Oh, yeah. I am not doing this, folks. I mean, let's use a clicky D-pad here. Yeah, there's a little bit of lag, there's a little bit of input lag, but it does kind of sort of work. It's just sad because this is a 2D game, so it depends on whether the game has support for controllers. It depends on whether the game has support for controllers or not, and you need to have a controller that does X input. If I switch this Logitech controller, this thing, if I switch this to D input, direct input mode, everything stops working. So this also is the problem that I had with Steam streaming a while back too, but all I need is just a beefier tablet and I can actually use it with an HDMI out as some sort of micro console. Who needs to actually buy the regular micro consoles? Or yeah, I guess this doesn't make for very good news for the Ouya, but anyways. There it is, there's the beast right there, the EVGA Tegra Note 7, 16 gig storage, 1 gig RAM, blech, should be 2 gigs. But the big improvement over what I have right now would be the quad-core NVIDIA Tegra 4 processor. Never mind that it's a Tegra, just the fact that it's quad-core versus my pathetic little dual-core Atom from my sub-100 bargain basement tablet. Yeah, that would probably help with gaming quite a bit. Plus it has HDMI out, so combine that with the ability to use a controller, and, interesting, although I would have to figure out how I was going to power the thing if I didn't want to drain the battery, because, well, only one USB port, so, yeah, micro USB splitter, USB on the go, then hook up a hub afterwards to split it between the adapter and, well, yeah, anyways. Okie dokie. So, yeah, Tegra 4, quad-core, etc., too bad it's out of stock. Don't know why Newegg can't seem to keep these things in stock. They have an open box SKU for $99, but the only way I can get this is to get gouged by one of their affiliates. Hey Newegg, people don't come to your site to get gouged by your affiliates. They want to buy from you! You're the website, the legend! Yeah, anyways. So it's cool though. I think I'll forego messing around with any 10-inch tablets since there is a viable 7-inch tablet out there that actually will HDMI out and possibly take a controller as well if it's ever back in stock. Anywho. Okay, easy stuff's over. Time to do the rest of the stuff. Time to bust this thing open and swap out some SATA cables. Well, this thing has seen better days, but it still works, so let's run this sucker clear into the ground. So here we are, we've got these old SATA cables, SATA. Well, here in New England we tend to prefer our schwas, like Pak the Ka and Havid Yad. But enough New England jokes already. So you can see the SATA cables coming out. I got the big ones for the drive, the opticals up top, and then the smaller ones for the SSDs, and especially what's going on over here with this little piece of spaghetti, where this thing has to go twist out over the top of the graphics card. No, I want it to go straight down coming out of these devices, and it looks like I might have enough room to be able to squeeze both of them down without there being too many cable issues. I wonder if I should swap them out one at a time, or... well, shoot. You know what, this would be easier if I remove the graphics card, because half the darn ports are down behind it. Let's hope I only have to do this once. Now that's what I'm talking about, right there. Still a ton of spaghetti, because this case has no cable management compared to, say, some of the fractal design stuff that's out these days. But 90-degree angles, no wonder it looks like garbage. 90-degree angles on everything. Especially this 90-degree angles on everything, especially the drives that are really close to the graphics card. Everything has a nice ice blue thing to it. I may have traded one set of spaghetti for another because the stuff I got for the optical drives was a little too long, but later on when I move this system into a case that actually has some real cable management, I will probably do a heck of a lot better in terms of this kind of stuff. Alright, let's put it all back together and see how many cables I end up having to swap because the drives are now reversed. Got my little tiny things on the motherboard saying what's what, but I've got a feeling I might have to swap a few things. That's what I'm talking about right there. No tight squeeze going on here with these 90-degree cables. Alright, everything's back together. Let's apply power. Is it going to boot off of the wrong drive? Is it going to not detect something? Is it going to flip the drives around? How many of these cable pairs am I going to have to reverse? Or maybe the flaky RAM sockets will just screw everything up. Go! Beep, beep, beep. Oh no, the RAM sockets are actually behaving today. Alright, next question. Howdy folks, is it going to boot off of the wrong drive? Do-da-da-da-da-da. Apparently not. So let's check my computer when it gets back up. Alright. So you're ready for a Windows 2000 beta startup sound, which is my current Windows startup sound in Win 7? Any second now. That's kind of cool, actually. I'm surprised this didn't get used. Maybe the Microsoft didn't like it because it took too long. Alright, let's open up my computer and see if our drives are reversed. Okie dokie, so C drive is still local, good. Regular system is still on C, games is still on G, right? H and I. Let's eject the D drive, and the one on the top should open. The optical drives are reversed.
Epic fail.
Alright, well, they're the same make and model, but I prefer things to line up. Okay. Freaking optical drives. This is why I'm going to probably drop down to just one on monolith. No more of this confusion. Alright. So, if we disconnect... I don't know if these are hot swappable or not. The only way to test if the mechanical drives are correct is to shut the thing off and unplug one of them and see which of these comes back. Try number 2. I think SATA's hot swappable, so I hope they didn't damage anything by making these changes while things are still powered. So the optical drives have been switched, and the power has been yanked out of the top hard drive in the mechanical array. So I should only have an I drive if these things are hooked up correctly. These darn hard drives, man. I have to get this right, because if the drives are reversed, I run the risk of losing data if I do some kind of, do like a backup, because I use a sync program between two drives to back everything up and keep it simple like that. I can't wait till I have a case with some actual cable management later this year. Okay, I confess. I'm just looking for excuses to play that sound again and again and again. Yay! Alright, which drive do we have? Alright. Yes! They were hooked up correctly. I only have an iDrive. Brilliant. Nice. Alright, that means I got the cabling right on those then. Alright, we'll shut it on down, put the cover back on. The fans are all spinning, right? Yep, they're spinning. Just looking down at the door while the chair creaks and creaks and creaks. The unfortunate part about Tuxedo right now is the bearings, I think, are blowing in the fan on the PC Power and Cooling Silencer Mark II 750 watt. There's a little bit of a squeak when that thing goes around. If I can disassemble the power supply and get at that fan, I'd like to squirt some oil into it and see if that takes care of the bearing for a bit. Hopefully the oil doesn't drip on the sound card and short it out or anything like that, but this is a Silencer Mark II. It's 80+ silver certified, so I could probably do better in terms of power supplies. But I'm actually thinking of getting a smaller power supply so that when the system's idle, it's at 20% of load for the power supply instead of lower. So I think right now probably some of the high wattage is caused by being out of the efficiency range for the 80+ on these things. But that's another discussion for another day. Let's plug the power back in on that drive down there, put everything back together, and see this thing boot up the right way. If the RAM socket doesn't decide to flake out. Anywho. Everything is back together and all the stuff's back on top. Now watch the RAM socket flake out or something not get power or something. Because I have no luck. Which is why I don't go to the casino. Anywho. Okay, BIOS! Yay! Alright, so the RAM's gonna behave itself this time. I think probably later this year or so, I will definitely be looking at a Fractal Design Define XL series case to move all of this into and start Monolith off there with Tuxedo's current hardware. But as it is right now, I think I'm going to be waiting until AMD Zen and whatever this Skybridge stuff is that I'm hearing about comes out next year. New architectures and new chips from Intel and AMD before deciding what Monolith's going to be powered with. Yeah! Oh, I was totally looking for an excuse to play that again. Ay. Well, at least my desktop is cleaner than it usually is. That's why I usually hide my desktop icons. Zip-a-dee-doo-dah. Oh, hi EVGA. The only program that still pops up on the darn screen. Whatever. And of course Steam does its thing and whatnot. Alright, well, not exactly what I'd call a Tuxedo upgrade, but I guess it counts. And all of this, I believe, cost me less than 20 bucks. Yep, 1857 grand total. Although those flat rates for if it fits it ships with USPS, then again, Monoprice has a lousy business situation with having to send cables and stuff. Doesn't really work very well when you're sending all this light stuff in envelopes and flat rate boxes, but anyways, that's why I tried to buy all the cables I could possibly want to get in the next couple of years all in one shot, because I knew the shipping was probably going to be high. I'm involved in internet sales fulfillment right now. I know a few things about what kills businesses in terms of what people order off of the internet, and why Amazon has its "you can only get these items if you buy them with something else" items. That's a completely different discussion for another day, though. Anyways, everything works! Yay! Let's see how long it stays that way. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay, signing off. Thanks for stopping by.